Why is it that every time the world looks for someone to blame, the target is always the same? Why is it that Muslims are painted as the enemy, even when they're the ones burying their children, even when they're the ones under fire, even when the rubble they sleep in screams louder than any headline? If you really want the truth, you've got to stop scrolling, stop looking away, and sit with the uncomfortable question nobody wants to face. Why are Muslims always the target? Why are Muslims always the target? Why is it that every time you turn your head, the finger of the world is pointing in one direction, and the story is always written the same way, as if some people are less human, as if their pain counts less, as if their blood is somehow cheaper? That's the question that nobody wants to sit with too long, because the moment you actually sit with it, it gets ugly. It makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to see the double standards that have been baked into the way we view the world. And most people don't like discomfort. They'd rather scroll, distract, laugh at some video, shut off their brain. But here's the thing: you don't grow in comfort. You grow in pain. You grow when you stare straight into the storm and say, yeah, this hurts, but I'm not running. And when you look at Gaza, you can't hide from the truth. You see mothers burying their children with their own hands. You see fathers holding back tears because they don't want their surviving kids to feel like hope is gone. You see kids growing up not with cartoons and playgrounds, but with drones buzzing overhead. And if you're really honest with yourself, you have to ask, how long can a people carry that kind of weight and still hold on to their faith, still say, we'll rise again? That's not weakness, that's discipline, that's faith beyond comfort. That's a type of strength that the so-called free world doesn't even understand anymore. But people don't like to think about that, because if you admit that Muslims and specifically Palestinians right now are showing strength that you don't even have in your life, then you've got to check yourself. You've got to admit maybe your problems aren't problems. Maybe your fear of failure, your laziness, your I don't feel like going to the gym today. Maybe that's just weakness, because there are kids out there waking up every day in rubble and you're scared of doing hard things. Think about that, and let me tell you, the system counts on your weakness. The system wants you numb. That's why the distractions are endless. Why is it that you can watch hours of people dancing on your phone, but you can't find 5 minutes to learn the truth about people dying? Why is it that your timeline is flooded with garbage, but the voices of the oppressed get silenced? That's not an accident, that's programming. And here's the part that stings: you agreed to it. You fed the algorithm. You chose comfort, you chose numbness, but deep down you know the truth. You know that history keeps repeating. You know that empires have always needed a scapegoat, and right now Muslims are the scapegoat. They're painted as the danger, the threat, the other. And that's powerful for the ones in control, because if people are scared of Muslims, they'll never sympathize with them. They'll never see their humanity. They'll accept injustice as security. They'll accept bombing as defense. They'll accept occupation as normal. But here's the flip side. Every time they try to break Muslims, they reveal something terrifying to themselves. Muslims don't break the way they expect. You can strip everything from them, and somehow they still pray. Somehow they still say, God is greater. Do you realize the level of mind said it takes to stand in prayer with bombs falling around you? That's not religion as a label. That's not culture. That's pure spiritual steel. That's self-mastery. That's a refusal to let the outside world dictate the inside state. And if you can tap into even a fraction of that, you'd be unstoppable in your own life. But here's the tragedy: you won't. Most people won't. Most people will keep playing small. They'll keep complaining about things that don't matter. They'll keep living as if tomorrow is guaranteed. And meanwhile, in Gaza, tomorrow is never guaranteed. That's why they live with urgency. That's why their faith is sharp. That's why their discipline is real. Pain forces you to sharpen your edge. Comfort dulls it. So let me flip this on you. What's your excuse? Seriously, What's stopping you from becoming the strongest version of yourself? Don't tell me it's fear. Fear is natural. You think those kids aren't afraid. You think those families don't feel fear every second. Of course they do, but they act anyway. That's the difference between people who live small and people who become legends. Fear doesn't go away, you move with it. You stare it down, you make fear your training partner. You say you want discipline, you say you want purpose, but the second life gets inconvenient, you fold, and you wonder why you're unhappy. You wonder why you feel empty. You wonder why you feel like something's missing. It's missing because you're living at 20% of your potential. You're soft, and deep down, you know it. That's why you distract yourself, because the silence would expose you. Let me ask you this. If people in Gaza can cling to hope while their world is literally being destroyed, what's your excuse for not building yours when everything around you is still intact? You've got time, resources, freedom, opportunity, and you're wasting it. Do you see how insane that is? And don't twist this. This isn't about guilt, tripping you into feeling bad for having comfort. It's about responsibility. It's about accountability. Because if you live in comfort, that means you've got more tools, more freedom, more platforms, so why aren't you using them for something bigger than yourself? Why aren't you using your health, your time, your voice to build, to stand, to help, to elevate? Because comfort made you selfish. Comfort made you think the game is about you. But here's the truth. The game is bigger than you, always has been, always will be, and the sooner you wake up to that, the sooner your life stops feeling meaningless. You want meaning, find something worth fighting for. You want strength, put yourself in uncomfortable places and stay there until you grow. You want peace, stop running from pain and face it until it bows to you. That's the formula. It's not complicated, but it is hard, and that's why most people won't do it. Now think about this: every empire in history that thought it could erase a people, every empire that thought it could crush faith with bombs and cages and propaganda, every single one eventually collapsed. Because there's one thing you can't kill: truth. You can bury it, you can censor it, you can twist it, but truth has a way of breaking through. It might take years, decades, centuries, but it breaks through. And when it does, it shatters lies like glass. And the people who stood firm in truth, even when it cost them everything, those are the ones remembered as unbreakable. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as someone who looked away, who stayed silent, who wasted their life in distractions? Or do you want to be remembered as someone who stood up, who faced fear, who built something real out of their pain? That choice is yours. Nobody's coming to save you from yourself. Nobody's coming to do the push-ups for you. Nobody's going to hand you courage. You've got to step into the fire. And let me be real with you, you don't have to wait until your life collapses to wake up. You don't have to lose everything to learn the value of faith, discipline, and struggle. You can choose it now. You can put yourself through controlled discomfort, the gym, fasting, learning, discipline, so when real chaos comes, you're ready. That's what Muslims under fire are showing you every day. If you master yourself, nothing outside can break you, and maybe that's why they're always the target. Because deep down, the world fears what it doesn't understand. It fears a people who can't be controlled by comfort, who can't be bought with distractions, who still bow only to God when the whole system wants them to bow to fear. That's power, that's freedom, and that's the very thing tyrants can't stand. So here's the challenge: stop wasting your life. Stop acting like you've got forever. Stop running from the truth. Pick one thing you've been avoiding, one fear you've been bowing to, one weakness you've been making excuses for, and crush it. Today, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, today, because the world doesn't need more comfortable people. The world needs people who are unbreakable. The world needs people who live with urgency. The world needs people who choose truth over comfort, discipline over laziness, courage over fear. And if you're listening to this, that means it's on you. You heard the words, you can't unhear them. You're accountable now. So the only question left is this: when your story is told, when people look back on your life, will they say you were awake, alive, and fearless? Or will they say you scrolled, distracted, wasted, and disappeared? That answer is being written right now with every choice you make. So make the right one, stand up, get disciplined, face fear, build something real, live with urgency, and never let them break you. Because here's the thing nobody wants to admit: life is war. Not always bombs and guns, but war with yourself, with your habits, with the noise that keeps you small. And if you don't train for that war, you lose. Simple. And losing doesn't look like some big dramatic collapse. Losing looks like you becoming average. Losing looks like you wasting your potential, living a life so watered down that nobody even remembers you existed. And maybe you think that's not a big deal, but let me tell you, deep down, every human being wants to matter. Every human being wants to feel like their existence changed something, but that doesn't happen by accident. That happens by choice. And look, maybe you're sitting there thinking, what can I even do about something like Gaza? I'm just one person. I'm not in power. I don't control armies or governments. But that's the excuse comfort gives you. Because you don't need to control armies to change the world. You change the world by changing yourself, and then the ripple effect spreads. You master your mind, you discipline your body, you sharpen your soul, and suddenly you've got influence. Suddenly people listen when you talk. Suddenly you have credibility because your life reflects strength, and that strength can't be ignored. That's how change starts. It starts small, always, but we're addicted to thinking we're powerless. You're not powerless, you've just been numbed. You've been taught to believe that scrolling is awareness, that hashtags are enough, that someone else will handle the heavy lifting. Wrong. You are the heavy lifter. You are the one who has to stand when it's easier to sit, to speak when it's safer to be silent, to move when the world says stay still. That's the job, and yeah, it's hard. That's the point. Let me put it this way. Imagine you were born in Gaza. Imagine you opened your eyes for the first time, and instead of nursery colors and lullabies, your background music was explosions. Your playground was rubble. Your bedtime story was your parents whispering, praying you'd survive the night. And now ask yourself, if that was you, wouldn't you want someone out there, someone who had freedom, someone who had resources, someone who had a voice to do something, to stand up, to live with urgency so their life actually meant something beyond themselves? You know the answer, you'd beg for it, so why can't you be that someone for them and for yourself? And listen, this isn't about being political. Forget politics for a second. This is about humanity. This is about spirit. This is about discipline, because discipline is universal. Faith is universal. Struggle is universal. You don't need to be in a war zone to understand that life is testing you every day. The test looks different, but the principle is the same. Are you going to fold, or are you going to rise? Are you going to let fear run you, or are you going to master it? That's the question life is asking you right now, today. And here's where it gets raw. You're not promised time. You're not promised tomorrow. You're not promised health. And if you don't live with urgency, if you keep telling yourself later, then later turns into never, and suddenly you're at the end of your life realizing you wasted the whole thing. And maybe that's the real tragedy, because pain is survivable, struggle is survivable, even loss is survivable. But regret eats your soul alive. Regret is the fire you can't put out, because you know you did it to yourself. So stop playing with time like you own it. Stop treating your life like a rehearsal. This is the show. This is it. And the people under bombs in Gaza, they know that. That's why their prayers are sharp, their love is deep, their hope is fierce. Because they live like every day could be the last. And ironically, that makes them more alive than most of us walking around in comfort, half asleep, hypnotized by screens, dead inside but still breathing. You want to wake up, live with urgency, live like the walls could collapse tomorrow. Because they could, And here's what I know: if you take even one step toward becoming unbreakable, if you choose to face pain instead of running from it, if you decide to live for something bigger than yourself, you change everything. You change your energy, you change how people see you, you change what's possible for your family, your community, your legacy. You become proof that it's possible, and proof is powerful, proof is contagious. Proof is what inspires people more than any speech ever could. So maybe the real question isn't why are Muslims always the target? Maybe the real question is, why aren't more of us learning from the way they endure? Why aren't we looking at their faith, their discipline, their refusal to be broken, and saying, damn, if they can do that under bombs, what excuse do I have here in comfort? That's the question that should keep you up at night. That's the question that should burn in your chest until you change. Because at the end of the day, life's going to test you whether you like it or not. You don't get to choose if you suffer. You only get to choose how you suffer. You either suffer the pain of discipline now, or you suffer the pain of regret later. And one of those pains makes you stronger. The other destroys you. Which one are you choosing? Stop hiding. Stop waiting. Stop wasting. Stand up, get after it, and don't just do it for yourself. Do it because somewhere out there, a kid is surviving the unthinkable with more courage than you're living with right now. Do it because the world doesn't need more comfort addicts. The world needs warriors. The world needs people who are unshakable, unstoppable, and unwilling to bow to anything but truth. So be that, today, right now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now. And here's the bottom line: the world is burning, whether you want to look at it or not. Some people are being tested in ways you can't even imagine, and they're still standing, still unbroken, still unshaken in their faith. And you, sitting here in comfort, scrolling, distracted, wasting time, you don't get to hide behind excuses anymore. Not after hearing this, not after knowing the truth. So let me ask you, who are you going to be? Are you going to be the one who looked away, the one who numbed out, drowned in entertainment, wasted their shot at life? Or are you going to be the one who stood up, who sharpened themselves, who carried discipline like armor, who faced fear head on and said, not me, I don't break, because the world doesn't need another bystander. The world doesn't need another coward. The world doesn't need another weak, distracted soul who never even tried. The world needs warriors of spirit. The world needs people who live with urgency, who choose truth over lies, who choose courage over fear, who choose discipline over comfort. And if you're hearing this, then it's you. You were meant to hear it. You were meant to wake up. You were meant to take whatever pain you've been through, whatever fear you've been running from, whatever weakness has been eating you alive, and turn it into strength. Forge yourself in fire. Break yourself on purpose so nobody else can break you. Live like the people who have nothing left but faith, and somehow still shine brighter than the whole world. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't live like it's just another day. Live like it's the only day. Live like it's your last shot. Live like there's no tomorrow, because one day there won't be. And when that day comes, when it's over, let them say about you what they say about the unbreakable, that you stood tall, that you never bowed, that you were alive, awake, fearless, and free. The time is now. The choice is yours. Stop waiting. Stop wasting. Rise.